Hey folks, this is Vince with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to check out Scattergories, a game for 2 or more players for ages 13 and up, with the average playtime being about 30 minutes. Now this game reminds me a little bit of that challenge in Hell's Kitchen, where they have to roll a die, and they have to name an ingredient, starting with the first letter that is rolled on the die here. So for example, if they roll a B on that show, then they'll have to say like broccoli as an ingredient. Well, this game works much the same way, in that there are different categories that players will have to work off of. They'll roll a die, and whatever letter comes up, they'll have to choose a word in their head and write it down on paper that matches the category in question, but it has to start with the letter that is rolled. So without further ado, let's take a quick look at the components and see how the game is played. Okay, so here's a very brief look at the components. You've got these folders here. Each player or team will receive one. Basically, there's a slot here for one of these score sheets and instructions on how the game is played, that kind of thing. You've got a sand timer here. You've got a die with a bunch of different letters on it. You've got these category cards. There's 12 categories per card, and these lists are numbered. So this is like list 15. This is list 13, and there are copies of this list in this particular deck, so whenever players go to play this game, they'll be working off the same list. So each player would have list 13. Each team would have list 13, for example. You've also got these score sheets. There are 12 categories on this card, so likewise, there are 12 different rows, one for each of the 12 different categories on the category card. But basically, column 1, column 2, column 3. And the way this works is that whenever players are trying to come up with words for the first category, they'll write the word here, and then if they can think of another word that starts with that letter, they'll write the second word here, and then write the third one, if they can. Now, they're going to be against the clock here, so players may only be able to list 1 or 2 words per category, depending on how good they are with, word play games, that kind of thing. Now, with regard to the flow of play, basically each player will get one of these folders. They'll get one of these score pads to put inside their folder. They'll each get the same list. It's important to note the number here, list 1. So if I'm working off of list 1, then everyone else needs to work off of list 1. Again, there are multiple copies of these cards in the deck. So once everyone has the same list, they'll go ahead and roll the die. And whatever letter comes up, they'll go ahead and just observe that and flip the timer. Now, this is the point where players will work together, if they're on the same team, that is. They'll work together quietly so as not to let other people hear what you're talking about. But you're going to converse and come up with words that fit the category, but also start with the letter that is rolled. So if we take a look at the first one, a boy's name, let's say a T was rolled, Tom. Then column 2, Tim. If you can come up with more than one word that fits the category, great. You can put down a total of 3. On to the next one. There's cities. There's things that are cold. Things you don't want in the house. Oh, termites. Let's put that on 4. Sports teams. I don't know sports, but maybe tigers. I don't know. Write that down. Things in a coffee bar. Things you mix up. TV shows. Tiny Toons, put that down. So yeah, this will go on, and players will write down as many words as possible. Again, a maximum of 3 words per category. And once the sand timer runs out, everyone stops writing, and they start comparing their words. Scoring is pretty easy in this game. Basically, a player or team score 1 point for each different acceptable answer. So if both players have Tom written down, or both teams have Tom written down, then neither of them would score a point. But if it is unique and no one else has it, then they actually score a point. Players actually score double points for repeating the letter rolled as a first letter. So like SpongeBob SquarePants. That answer would work, assuming no one else used it, and they would score 2 points. After that, once players have tallied their scores, they'll go ahead and start a second round. They'll work off the same category, but they'll roll a different letter. If they happen to roll the same letter that they worked off of in the first round, they'll just simply keep rolling the die until they come up with a different letter. They'll repeat the process, try and come up with words before the time runs out, and then tally their score. And at the end of 2 rounds, whoever has the most points will win the game. Alright, there you have it, a very brief look at Scattergories. It's important to stress that I didn't really cover everything in the manual, but this should just give you the highlights. This is a very challenging game, I have to admit. If you're great at vocabulary, then this game will be right up your alley. Otherwise, you're going to be struggling just to come up with one word sometimes, especially when you've got a ticking clock. Some people don't work well under pressure. I'm one of them. So when that happens, I just freeze up and I can't think of anything. So some may find this game a little frustrating, but when you're playing it in a large group and you're having a good time, honestly, I think this game is pretty fair. I think I got it for 15, 17 bucks at Toys R Us. So if you can find it around that price range, I think it's a good buy, especially if you have a lot of people in your household or you hold parties on a regular basis. So yeah, Scattergories, if you want to see my full review, you can. www.dadsgamingaddiction.com. If you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, that way you can keep up to date with any new content I happen to publish. This is Vince, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.